Hello and welcome to the very first training series in our Minus the Menobelly program. Today we're going to explore what happens to the female body in menopause and why. But before I begin, I will preface this talk with the reminder that I'm not a doctor. I am not a medical professional, and should you need to, make sure that you do go and seek the advice of a medical professional. However, I have been on this explorative journey with myself, with a lot of clients, and what is coming to you today is the research that we've done and the trial and error that we have implemented with our own clients, and they've seen some beautiful results. So, menopause. The meaning behind the word menopause literally is to pause the month. So, meno means month and pause is pause, right? So, it's the term used to describe the fact that the monthly cycle of a woman has stopped. Now, an interesting fact, you are actually considered to be in menopause once it has been 12 months since your last period. Yep, a whole 12 months. The time before that, when things are changing, when you're not quite feeling right, that's called perimenopause. Some call it premenopause, but the term most commonly recognized is perimenopause. And it's interesting to note that not all women actually go through perimenopause, nor do they recognize symptoms. Some people just simply find themselves in menopause without having gone through perimenopause. Another interesting thing to note is that 25% of women start to see perimenopausal symptoms from the age of 35 to 40. So it's not necessarily something that happens in your late 40s and 50s. It can happen before you even turn 40. So during menopause, a number of things start to change in a woman's body. You might start having lighter, irregular, heavier, or just really different periods than what you're used to. Your cycles may even slow down. Now, what else happens is that your ovaries start producing less hormones. And most significantly, the levels of estrogen start declining in our bodies. And this is actually a really big contributor to weight gain and to the body fat increases that we can get into a little bit later. Now, as your ovaries produce less estrogen, because that's where the main source of estrogen is in your ovaries, it actually throws off the hormonal balance because your ovaries are still producing progesterone and a number of other hormones as well. It's why we can still feel a little bit funny, hot flushes, tired, grumpy, moody, lethargic, all of those things. So when you are feeling like that, just know that it's not you, it's the hormones, yeah? Now, this is a time for many women when their bodies really do start to change in terms of weight and body fat and that fat distribution. So most commonly, women find that they put on more body fat and weight, especially around that midsection, even though they've done nothing different in terms of diet and exercising. Plus, women can find it harder to lose that weight. So perhaps before you might simply cut your calories and go for regular walks and your weight would be under control. You might lose a few kilos, you'd be right back on track. But then you hit perimenopause or menopause and it's no longer the case. It may even feel like nothing is working to shift that weight or to stop that increase in body weight. And it can all feel a little bit useless. So why is this the case? Now you see, often women give up at this point. They say it's menopause weight, there's nothing I can do about it. The worst thing is that some doctors will even say this to their patients who are concerned about their weight gain. It's just menopause, your body's changed, nothing you can do. Eat less, move more. Yikes, I really hate that sentence. I call bullshit on that sentence. The fact of the matter is, you just haven't been educated, you haven't found out why your body is making those changes and what you can actually do about it. Now, don't get me wrong, everybody is different. And just like before menopause, when there are some people for whom traditional weight loss methods don't seem to work, there will always be those in menopause who never lose as much weight as they like because that's just their body composition. It's the way they were made to have that balance of fat, muscle, and tissue. But there is absolutely no reason to be obese or significantly overweight in menopause if you are equipped with the right tools and take the right action. Menopause is not an excuse unless you want it to be. Now, it all still comes down to calories in and calories out, of course. It comes down to moving your body. It really comes down to the quality of nutrition, which is what we're going to explore a lot over the next few weeks. And all of those things to maintain a healthy weight. Now, that healthy weight just may look different for some people based on how they're moving their bodies and how they're fueling their bodies. Now, we will get into this in more detail, but for now, I want to give you the why. Why is your body changing? Why does it want to have more weight, more body fat? And why is it now harder to shift because you're in perimenopause? The answer is estrogen. As I mentioned earlier, your ovaries are stopping their production of estrogen. Now, estrogen is important. Many people think it's only important for reproductive organs, but it is actually responsible for so many other systems in our bodies. See, estrogen is an essential hormone that assists with bone health, mental health, and even the condition of your heart and your cardiovascular system. So while it would be nice to say that the reduction of estrogen going into menopause doesn't matter because we no longer want to make babies, it does matter. Now, there are 3 different types of estrogen, yeah? E2, which is estradiol, is produced by the ovaries and is prominent during our child rearing years. Estriol, E3, is a form of estrogen that occurs through pregnancy and is actually responsible for fetal development and health and doesn't have a huge impact on our bodies outside of growing a baby, like pregnancy and breastfeeding. Now, the last form of estrogen is the most important one, and that is the one we need to pay attention to, and that is estrone, or E1. It is the one that is responsible for our bodies, for the functioning of our bodies outside of reproduction. So before menopause, estrone was present, but in smaller amounts compared to estradiol. So the estradiol was that main hormone produced by the ovaries, regulating your menstrual cycle, maintaining your bone health, keeping the skin tissues healthy, all those sorts of things. Estrone wasn't as prominent. But during menopause, the ovaries slow down and eventually stop producing estradiol. Now the body shifts to making more estrone, that E1, instead. Now, that actually comes from fat tissue. Estrone is weaker than the other estrogens and doesn't have the same powerful effects on the body. So what happens is estrone isn't as supportive on your bones as the other estrogens, as estradiol. So that's why there's a higher risk of osteoporosis. You have weaker bones. Now, estrone, the estrogen that is left in your body, is made predominantly in fat tissue. So women might notice gain in the fat area or changes in how the fat's distributed, especially around the belly, because your body wants to create more estrogen, and that's the one it's going to make. And if it's made in fat cells, it's going to make more of it. You may notice your skin losing elasticity, your hair might be thinner, because estrone's not doing the jobs that estradiol does. Let alone your hot flashes, your night sweats, all those sorts of things, your mood, your energy, your brain health even. So after menopause, we don't need those other types of estrogen anymore because we are no longer looking to have menstrual cycles, to get pregnant, or to grow a fetus, right? But estrone is still something our bodies need to have in order to keep our bones and our heart and our brains healthy. So you may also hear about how some women have, like I said before, the osteoporosis and bone-related disease as they get older. This is impacted by our estrogen levels. We'll do that topic another day maybe. But basically, we need estrone, which is that E1. And where is estrone made? A little bit in the ovaries and a lot in our fat cells. And when we go through menopause and our ovaries stop producing the estrogen, where is our body going to get that new estrogen from? That's right, our fat cells. It's at this point that the body says, well, I can no longer get the estrogen for the ovaries, so I have to increase the size of the fat cells to ensure that we have enough estrogen in the body to keep everything working at optimal levels. So our bodies want to start increasing our fat cells, the size and maybe even the number of them, but definitely the size, to maintain that same level of estrogen production that we had before menopause. It's that simple. This is why our bodies hold on to body fat so much more as we get older. We start to gain weight quicker, and usually without changing anything in our nutrition or our exercise. And we find it harder to lose body fat because our body is fighting hard to hold on to it for protection, for survival. I want you to remember this. Your body doesn't care what you look like. It doesn't care that you've already got enough body fat. It only cares about keeping you alive. Its job is to produce enough of what it needs to keep you alive. Makes sense, doesn't it, right? And it seems so simple that when I learned this, I was like, is that it? I was expecting it to be something so complicated, so intricate, because it is a huge issue for women to maintain that healthy body composition in menopause. I really did expect it to have so many more layers. And look, estrogen affects women in so many different ways. For some women, there'll be other side effects that may impact fat loss. But for the most part, if we can understand this fundamental concept of why our bodies want more body fat on them, then we are way better equipped to deal with it and combat it. Yeah. So how do we work with that information to lose that body fat, to burn it off, to keep it off? How does this change the fact that we can't lose weight as easily as we used to? We're going to look at that in our next training. But please, for now, feel assured that it's not all about what you're doing or not doing with your food and exercise, and that there is a method behind your body's madness. See you in the next video.